And as always, whenever you work on electric on a truck, make sure you disconnect the battery. You don't want any shorts or anything. Hello and welcome to another Xterra video, where I work on my truck. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. And in today's video I'm gonna continue working with my air compressor, and in particular my plan is to mount it in the back, run the wire to the front, tie into the battery. That way it's always there, it's always powered up, well, with a switch of course, so whenever I flip the switch it's gonna be working. I don't have to take it out, put it on the front, and yeah, it's gonna be mounted in the back, and that's where I'm gonna be getting my air from. So my plan is to mount it to the shelf actually over here. For that reason I have this thing. It's like a 1/4-inch plate. It's pretty heavy actually. So my plan is to put it over there, mount the compressor there. Hopefully I have all the parts over here. Actually I have some other parts that is gonna be for the next project, which is for 4-tire system, but still waiting for a few things. Gonna mount the compressor over here, get my wire from here to the front, and hopefully it's all gonna work out. So let's see how that's gonna work. So my plan is to mount this plate on top, something like that, maybe with a 4 or 6 screws, I'm not sure yet, and then the compressor is gonna go over here. That way this space is never gonna be used for anything, but that way the compressor here, I can always plug in my hose and get the air. Right now I'm just gonna measure how far it is gonna go to here. I'm gonna mark it, and then I'm gonna start disassembling all of this. So first I'm gonna have to remove my shelf. Now that the shelf is out, let's remove this cover. Now we need to remove these railings over here, so we can unbolt it as well. Now we're gonna take this part out, which just has 5 screws, so we're just gonna unscrew them. And we're gonna take this out as well. Now we also need to take this part out, which you just have to carefully carefully pull it out, and it's gonna come out one way or another. And this part as well. Just unclip it and unclip this part over here. You can use a pry tool or you can use just your hands. And now we need to disassemble this part. Now to remove this part, if I remember correctly, there's just 2 bolts over here and over here, and then there's just multiple clips we have to unclip carefully. So gonna do just that. With a little pry tool, gonna take this part out, so there is not even a bolt there, my mistake. We can take this portion out, and now this part's supposed to just come out with a little bit of a prying out. And now let's see if we can just carefully somehow undo all of this without extra damage. Now just remember there is a little plug over here, it's better to unplug it. Plug this plug, there is a little hole in the bottom. Just push something in there and it's gonna release the plug and you can pull it out carefully. Now to remove this portion completely, we need to remove this bolt that's holding the seat belt. So it's a 40mm, so let's remove it. And with that bolt out, this hopefully should come out easy. There we go. And as you can see, this is my reverse backup camera wire. Back then I was not able to take this part completely, so I was just able to snake it underneath over there. But now I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna zip tie it to these cables and it's all gonna be nice. So originally to run this wire I was planning to use a 10-gauge wire, but then I did some thinking, I read some stuff online, and I changed it to 8-gauge wire. And the way I'm gonna set it up, what I'm gonna put there, it's probably gonna be maybe for like multiple use if it's all gonna come out right. So I got this 8-gauge 15 feet of wire. I hope it's gonna be long enough now that I'm thinking. So right now I'm just gonna start running it from over here all the way to the front. And to run that wire, it's simply gonna follow this wire, and then it's just gonna go underneath. So here there is a big pass over there, and I'm gonna hopefully gonna be able to snake it to the front. These parts just simply come out like that, and this one as well. Just simply unclip it, and there is plenty of space in there to run the wire. So use your best judgment, best imagination to get the wire from here to the front. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Now, to be on the safe side, I decided to wrap the cable around in electrical tape, overlapping, so it's basically almost like a 2 layers, if you can notice. When dealing with electric, better be safe than sorry. So whenever the cable is gonna be underneath over there, it's gonna be well protected. And other spots where it's more exposed space, like over here, I'm probably gonna even put a wire loom. Wire from over there to here, you can use a coat hanger, or in my case, I have this metal snake. So once again, I'm just gonna push it, the wire over here, and now simply we're gonna pull it, and it's gonna come over here. All right. So now from here, I'm gonna get it to here, and we're gonna see where we're gonna go through the firewall. To remove this part, if I still remember correctly, you just have to push this down. And then there is plastic screw over here, you just unscrew it. So I got the wire all the way to the front over here. So now before I get over there, I'm gonna go back, make sure I have enough wire. If I need it, I pull a little more, and I can even secure the wire along the way. And this is how much wire I have left, which I pretty much, it's gonna stay here, but I want to have a little bit of a slack, so whenever I have to disassemble this and work with this, I have a little bit of a slack inside there. So now I can attach this wire to this loom, and it's gonna stay like that. So whenever, if I need to disassemble this, I can just simply cut the zip ties, and this is gonna be all free to move. So now I'm gonna use 3/8 wire loom. I'm gonna secure this wire inside there, so it's more protected. Zip tie it over here, and we're ready for the next step. So I zip tied the cable all along the way, so it's not gonna move here. I also fixed my camera wire. I also zip tied it going down over here, and over here. So now the cable is not gonna move, it's not gonna break or anything, so we should be good. So this part is done, we can even close this all up. So now my main thing is to get the wire across the firewall. It might be tricky, and then we're just gonna have to work over here in the back. And alright guys, I got my wire to the front. As you can see, again, I use this metal snake. I attach the wire over here, there's a little eye, so you strip the wire, pull it through, and put a tape around it. Now with here, I don't know if you guys can see it, I'm gonna try to post a picture. Through that grommet, I just drill a small little hole with a long bit. Very careful, just be very careful. I drill it way smaller than this size, so when I pull the wire, it's very tight and it's already sealed. I don't even need to apply any sealer in there. So once I drill the hole, I push the metal snake in there, and then it came out right over here. And then I guided the wire from over here, it's right there, and it goes all the way in there through the grommet and outside. So now I'm just gonna assemble everything from an engine bay all the way to the back, except for this part over here, because we still have to work over here, and I probably have to do more modifications over here. Alright guys, right now I'm just checking where I'm gonna make a hole, because I'm gonna put this quick disconnect that I picked up. I think it's gonna work out pretty good. I'm gonna wire up my wires in here, and then I'm gonna actually wire up the wires from the compressor to here, and I can just simply plug in and unplug anytime I want. And I'm thinking I'm gonna make a hole over here, that way it's gonna be over there and it's protected. And then this area over here I almost never use for anything anyways, so it's never gonna get broken or anything. So now I'm just gonna make a small hole over here, and we're gonna start assembling this together. So I marked where I want my hole to be. So now with a step bit, I'm gonna make the hole big enough until this connector can go through. Alright, now let's check this out. Alright, and it fits perfect. So now I'm gonna make 4 little holes, and I'm gonna secure it in place. Now my ground cable, I'm gonna actually tie in over here. This is I took out 1 bolt already, and I made this cable. It's gonna be a heavy duty cable for the ground, which is gonna be just over here, and the other end is of course gonna go into the plug over here. So before I mount this on a plastic board, I need to push the wires through the hole, do all the connection, put it in, then we can secure it. So now I'm just gonna put this bolt back in place, which is a 12mm. So I got my wire across. So now I'm gonna do the interconnection here. connect my wires. Then I'm gonna try to push it in, of course, and secure it, and then hopefully I can start assembling all of this. All right, and the wire is done. Just gotta make sure that you remember which terminals you use. In my case, I use terminal 1 for the positive and 2 is gonna be my ground. So now I'm just gonna push the wire in, secure it to this plastic, gonna start assembling it all together. Alright guys, so the outlet is in place, it's pretty secured. I used a screwdriver from one side and a 8mm from the other side just to hold those nuts in place and tighten it up. So now I'm gonna start assembling all of this, and this is just reverse procedure. Alright guys, all of this back in place, everything assembled, almost like nothing happened. The outlet is in place, I really like how it came out. So now it's time to modify my shelf. So the plate is gonna be mounted like that, and this is where the air compressor is gonna be. So I'm planning to put maybe about 5 holes over here to secure it to these studs. So now I'm just gonna mark the holes where I'm gonna make them. So I'm gonna make 5 holes, 3 in the back and 2 in the front. Gonna drill this plate first through, and then I'm gonna mark this and drill this. Alright, and I made 6 holes, so now I'm gonna make them bigger for the side of the screw, which I'm gonna use this kind of screws, and I tell you why in a minute, why I choose this kind of screws. So now I'm gonna make the holes bigger and we're gonna continue. Now the reason why I chose this kind of bolts is because this plate is pretty thick, so not to have anything sticking out on top, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a big old drill bit and I'm gonna enlarge this hole from the top, but not all the way through, just enough for the screw head to go in. At least that's the plan. Perfect. Now I'm gonna repeat the process for all of them and I'm gonna mount it to the shelf. Alright, so now I mark the holes on the shelf, I'm gonna drill them through and we're gonna start mounting the plate to the shelf. So I drill all 6 holes through. So now let's see if it still matches with my plate. I might have to enlarge one of the holes or maybe something, but for the most part I think it should be good. So now, like I said, I don't want any screws or bolts or not for anything to stick down over here. So I'm gonna make these holes bigger, big enough for the socket to go in, and the nut is actually gonna be on the inside. So let's see if I can make it happen. So that's how it's going to look, at least that's my plan. So now I'm gonna repeat the remaining 5 holes like this and hopefully it's gonna work out, or hopefully all the holes gonna match. All the holes are through, so now let's see if I can still mount this in place the way I want it. And on the other side, of course, I'm gonna use this type of nuts, so hopefully they're never gonna come loose. Alright guys, the shelf is mounted. It feels very solid. Hopefully it's not gonna go anywhere, but with the 6 bolts I doubt. So now I'm gonna put a compressor here, mark it where I'm gonna make a holes for the compressor, and gonna drill those too. So this is where the compressor is gonna be. I'm gonna leave a little space. This is enough space for me to turn it on and off, so that's gonna be all good. So now I'm gonna mark the holes, drill them, and then I'm gonna mount the shelf back in the truck, and then I'm gonna put the compressor back in place. Now I'm still gonna reuse the rubber feet and the screws and the bolts that this compressor came with. They actually fit here just fine, and they're just long enough as well. Actually, I was gonna do it inside the truck, but might as well do it now. I think I'll have no issues putting it back in place. Alright guys, I brought the shelf in. Now I'm just gonna position it back to original place and screw it in, and we're almost done. So now I'm gonna cut this cable completely. So I marked which one is the positive, which is this one. So I'm gonna cut them same lengths, and now I'm gonna figure out how much exactly I'm gonna leave wire over here, which I don't need much. Probably gonna put even the zip tie over here, and this probably gonna cut it over here. So I'm gonna strip it even more. Now over here you can barely see it, but it's marked as well 1 and 2. So this is gonna be our positive. So just gotta be careful, make sure you guys put the same terminals, you don't switch the polarity. Positive cable into 1, and the ground is gonna go into 2. Alright, that's pretty good. And of course, before screwing the wires, make sure guys you put this in place. So now we can screw this, and now we somewhat gonna screw this, but now I'm still gonna put wire loom over this. This is done. As you screw this in, it actually crimps the wire loom inside here, so this is not gonna come out. I really liked how this came out. Now I'm just gonna secure it over here on the side with a couple of zip ties, and this is gonna go in there whenever I need it. So not to leave any of these holes exposed like that, I went and I bought some plugs, like a plastic plugs, 5/8 plugs. So that's what I'm gonna do now. At least that's the plan. Just to go and plug these holes with these plugs. Alright, I think that came out pretty good, guys. What do you think? I think that came out pretty good. Even better than I expected. But what do you think? I think that came out pretty good. And this is how the top of a plate looks. The screws are flush, not sticking out. I think that came out pretty good. So now I'm gonna work at the front over here, finish up the wiring and mount my circuit breaker. And I decided to mount it over here on top of this box. I seen you guys do that, so it should be fine. I already marked the holes where I'm gonna put the, well, I'm gonna drill it actually. So I got my 50 amp circuit breaker, let's take it out. So this is gonna be something like that. Hopefully there is not gonna be any issue in interference with fuses, with the relays inside, but we'll see. And to secure it, I picked up these oversized head screws, which I'm gonna put from underneath, and of course again with the nail-on lug nuts. So let's take the cover out. All right, let's make a few holes over here. I wonder if that's gonna void the warranty. So the holes are through. So now let's put the screws in here and let's hope it still can close. Okay. It closes no problem. It doesn't interfere with the relays over there. By the way, I'm using over here 10-20 3/4 screws. Maybe I could have used the short ones, but I didn't find any. But they're not gonna stick out that much. So now it's just a 10mm and a screwdriver. Gonna make it tight. Alright, that feels good. That's not gonna go anywhere. You don't have to go too crazy on this. First of all, not to break this, or it's not gonna go anywhere anyways. The breakers are mounted. I actually had to flip them around because the battery goes on this side, unfortunately, so the letters are upside down, but that's alright. And if you can notice, I have two of them. My 50 amp, which is gonna be for air compressor, and a 100 amp, which is gonna be for my next project that I'm getting the parts for. So now let's see. Let's put it in place, and hopefully it still fits in here. Alright, fits in no problem. Great. So now let's work on the wiring. So now I'm gonna cut this cable shorter and I'm gonna put a connector on it. So the connector is on. So now I'm gonna crimp it, and for that I'm gonna use the hydraulic crimper. It's probably easier to do with the help of a friend, but this is doable too. All right. Let's release and take a look at it. That looks amazing. It's not gonna go anywhere. This is very tight. Now I'm gonna heat shrink it. Alright, that looks great. I like it. So I put the rest of the wire in the wire loom, of course, again, and I put a heat shrink around here. So I think that came out pretty good. And I left a little bit of extra slack. Not extra slack, but it's enough. If I ever need to remove this, I have enough room of just lifting this up. So now I'm gonna hide the wires inside there, and we're gonna connect it to our terminals over here. Let's connect our wire over here. Let's remove this nut. Alright, so let's put the terminal in place, and let's tie it up with a 12mm. Now with these circuit breakers, you gotta be careful. It's plastic after all, so don't go 100 pounds full of torque on them. Just use your best judgment. And now the last piece. We're gonna get the wire from here to our positive battery, connect our negative terminal, and we're done. Now to interconnect my circuit breaker from the battery, I'm actually gonna use a 4-gauge wire, a thicker gauge wire. So that's gonna be my main lead coming from here to here, and then actually I'm gonna get another lead from here to here, so I don't have multiple cables going to the battery. At least that's my plan. So now I'm gonna measure how much I need and cut it and crimp it.
My small cable is done, it's all crimped. Now I'm just gonna heat shrink it as well. Alright, this looks pretty good. At least I think it looks pretty good. So now I'm just gonna connect it over here and we're gonna test it. So this is done over here. So now I'm just gonna connect over here. Now these two cables over here are for my light bar and my pod lights, but that's gonna come out soon. That's why this guy is here. It's waiting its turn. But for now, this cable is gonna go over here, and actually that's where it's gonna remain eventually. Now this cover over here, I had to make a little notch over here, so then it closes fine. I mean, you don't have to do it. If it's staying like this, no big difference, or like this. But yeah, so this is all done. So now we can connect our battery, turn on the breaker, and we can test. The battery is connected. Let's turn our breaker on. Alright, now let's connect our plug over here, which is very easy. Goes only one way and then snaps in. There we go. So far so good. Now I have my valve over here, it's open. So if I press on over here, hopefully it should work. Alright, and it's working. Now I turn this off and it stops. Even this is still working. Amazing, I'm glad. And if I turn the air on, there you go. Nice, I'm happy it all worked out. And to unplug this, just simply twist this and it comes out. So then you can close this up. And this plug, I'm actually gonna secure it over here. I'm just looking what to use to secure it over there like that. So it's not gonna be constantly connected and there is no worries or issues for that to get damaged. And that outlet I can use for anything else now. I can use for, maybe I come up with a little cooler in here. I get another plug like that. I splice it through and boom, I can use it as a outlet for the cooler. Amazing. Alright guys, so actually I went ahead and I bought this and I mounted it over there like that. I was hoping it'd be smaller so it would not be sticking out down that much, but it's still, nothing is here, so I think it's fine. So now the cable is secured over there, it's not going anywhere. If I ever need to use it, I just simply go ahead and I pull down and that's it, and then I can put it back in place. Nice and easy. Alright guys, another project successfully done. I'm happy. I'm really happy the way it all came out, and it's actually working pretty much just the way I wanted, just the way I planned it. It all worked out. It's always nice when everything goes according to the plan. In my case it's not always maybe, but it's nice when it happens. I would also like to know, where do you have your compressor mounted? Do you have it mounted in the front or in the back, or you keep it mobile? In that way you can use it on multiple vehicles, which is also a great thing to do. But since this is my only vehicle I'm gonna use it on, that's why I mounted it over there. So my next project is gonna be related to the compressor. I'm gonna be working on a 4-tire inflate deflate system, so that's gonna be coming up hopefully soon. But as of now, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you might find it helpful. As always, leave your comments and critiques in the comment section. I always like to read them. And until next time, everybody, bye.